Okay, there are two pitchers on the Atlanta Braves who are linked with their time with the Boston Red Sox. And my question to you, will they be linked in Cooperstown?
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days. And on Instagram, I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTube page. And make sure to use that hashtag EverydaySully. And that way, we know who is putting comments, so we know what you're talking about. We want to know what you want us to be talking about. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know what I'm saying. I'm saying today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. There you go. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. You know, there's a FanDuel network now. When they've been on our show sponsoring for a few years now, there's a FanDuel network. Those are the Angels are on the FanDuel network. Who knew? I didn't know that. I didn't know that till recently. I'm near in Southern California, and they black out all the Angels games. They black out all the Dodger games because, you know, that's how you build a fan base, is you make sure you make it as difficult as possible to watch a baseball game. Hey, last week, the Braves did some roster shuffling, and in came Craig Kimbrel. Craig Kimbrel was activated and put back on the Braves roster. And this is his second tour of duty with the Atlanta Braves. He emerged in 2010 and was right out of the gate just fabulous and quickly became one of the best relievers in baseball. And he is now teammates again with Chris Sale. And Chris Sale, of course, last year won the Cy Young Award, the National League Cy Young Award, and is continuing to pitch well. Full disclosure, I am recording this a few days ahead of time. So I really, 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 and did I mention, really hope that Chris Sale did not suffer a major injury between the moment I'm recording this now and when this drops. But I digress. They are teammates right now with the Atlanta Braves. And the Braves, who got off obviously to a horrific start, they're trying to claw their way back in. This is that middle third of the season. And you're wondering, okay, are they going to go on a great winning streak? Are they going to fall back to earth? And if they do fall back to earth, or if they don't dust themselves off and really get into this whole wild card situation, I don't think they're going to catch the Mets or the Phillies. They have to take a good, hard look at some of the veteran players they have. If the Braves fall off the map, and I'm not saying I think they will, but I mean, they got off to a rotten start, and sometimes getting off to a rotten start in a very top-heavy National League, that can be dangerous. And if things do go south for the team that's in the South, then you're going to have to think long and hard about, are you going to trade away some of their assets? And when you have a pitcher who's 30, how old is Chris Sale? He's 36 years old. You're going to try to get something. Maybe you're going to get something more than the Red Sox got when they traded for him. Let me tell you something. The trade of Vaughn Grisham for Chris Sale turned out to be a bad trade for the Red Sox. There's no getting around it. But I am not going to Monday morning quarterback that. I felt that when the Red Sox pulled off that deal, I thought it was a pretty good trade for this reason. Vaughn Grisham was a decent prospect, a decent infield prospect. The Red Sox needed infield depth. And I really, really, and did I mention, really felt that Chris Sale was done. And everything pointed to him being done. And he did not pitch. He pitched poorly in 2019, the year after the Red Sox won the World Series. He did not pitch the COVID year. He was injured. He only pitched 9 games in 2021 when the Red Sox got back to 2 wins of the World Series, but he was not a big contributor to that team. He pitched 2 games total between the end of the 2019 season and the beginning of the 2023 season. For the 2020, 2021, and 22 seasons, over 3 years, he pitched 11 games total. And then he pitched 20 starts in 2023, but was mediocre. And so I felt if they could get a young player for him, great. And he wound up winning the pitching triple crown. And there you go. I said it on my old blog that I used to do and on the Solid Baseball podcast. I said that after the 2018 World Series, I said the Red Sox should have traded him right then and there. And people threw tomatoes at me, but I said his value would never get higher. When he struck out, Manny Machado came out of the bullpen to close that game. When he struck out Manny Machado, I said his value is never going to be higher than right now. And you already got what you wanted from him. He had an amazing season his first year in Boston. And then he's the pitcher on the mound clinching the World Series in 2018. I said, he'll never be better than this. It'll never be better than this. Get something from it. I know that sounds hypocritical because I've been trashing the Red Sox for trading Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is a franchise player, and Chris Sale was a really good pitcher who I felt was a huge injury risk. And I felt vindicated. I didn't want to be vindicated, but I was vindicated because I said, do you know what? He never was the pitcher again. He became injured. They should have traded him at the peak value. I'm glad they at least got a good infield prospect for him. Whoops. Vaughn Grisham has been a bust, and Chris Sale won the Cy Young Award. Now, Craig Kimbrel has bounced around a little bit over the last bunch of years, found himself on playing in the playoffs with both the White Sox and the Cubs after being with the Red Sox in 2018 as a teammate of Chris Sale, and played in the playoffs, was on a playoff team with Los Angeles, but wasn't on the roster, was played the playoffs in 2023 and was on another playoff team last year with the Baltimore Orioles, but didn't play in the postseason. And now here he is with Atlanta and his second tour of duty with them. Now, I was thinking about this the other day. Did Chris Sale's Cy Young Award turn him from that Ron Guidry, Fernando Valenzuela, Oral Hershiser, Dwight Gooden territory of a real great ace who didn't do it for long enough? Did that put him over the hump to the Hall of Fame? And has the length of Craig Kimbrel's career turned him from a really terrific pitcher who had his day, or is he also a Hall of Famer? Let's break each of them down when we come back. First Sale, and then Kimbrel. The NBA Finals are in full swing right now, and there's no better place to get in on the excitement, the back and forth, the excitement of the series. Oklahoma City, Indiana, one of these two fan bases are going to get their first championship. I know Oklahoma City won in Seattle, but the fan base of Oklahoma City, you know what I'm talking about. Now, if you're not from Indiana, you're not from Oklahoma City, how are you going to get in on this? You get in via the FanDuel. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game. Better tip off, and it's a better bet so you can get in there. Tip off and live with player props, performance trends, and same game parlays. Fans have way more ways to play smart and win big. Okay, who's going to come up big? Will it be SGA? Will it be Tyrese Halliburton? Is it going to be Jalen Williams? Is it going to be Alex Caruso? Aaron, don't call me Mike Nesmith. All those players are coming up and coming up big. And you can get the live prop bets mid-game based on how the action unfolds. And you can turn $200 in bonus bets into excitement if your first $5 bet hits. Now, if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. Chris Sale emerged in 2010, as did Craig Kimbrel. They both started the same year. Kimbrel started in Atlanta. Sale started in Chicago with the White Sox and went right from college. He graduated from Florida Gulf Coast University and was drafted with the number 13 overall pick in the 2010 draft and made it to the major leagues that very year. And do you know what? I like when stuff like this happens. Sale came up as a reliever. His first 2 years with the White Sox were completely out of the bullpen, but he came out of the bullpen right out of college and immediately was phenomenal. He pitched 21 games for the White Sox in 2010. Earlier that year, the man was in college. He struck out 32 batters in 23 and a third innings and only walked 10 batters. And he picked up 4 saves for his trouble. And his next year, at age 22, he was a full-time reliever. 58 games, again, struck out 79 batters in 71 innings and gave them a great arm. I'll tell you, Earl Weaver used to do this with some of his pitchers. If you look at some of the pitchers that he brought up, whether it was McNally or Jim Palmer, whomever, they would bring him up as a reliever so they get that major league experience. And he didn't blow anyone's arms out during that. He was just able to acclimate them to pitching to big league batters. That's exactly what happened with Chris Sale. So by the time he made the switch to the rotation in his third year in the major leagues, 2012, he was ready and he was an ace. He came out, he struck out a batter an inning, won a bunch of games for the 2012 Chicago White Sox. And then after that, things clicked. And he was as close to an old-fashioned ace as you would have. We don't develop pitchers like this anymore. And this is not they don't make them like they used to. No, teams are avoiding developing aces. Now, part of it is sabermetrics. Well, we don't want them facing the same lineup more than twice. It's all about money because they know the most expensive players in baseball are ace pitchers, and they also tend to break down. So they're creating a pitching staff that doesn't need ace pitchers. Well, the 2010s may have been one of the last eras where you have ace pitchers. Hopefully Tarek Skubal is going to be the exception that proves the rule. But by his third year in the majors, his first as a starter, he became a Cy Young contender. He was a Cy Young contender in 2013, 2014, he made the All-Star team in 2012, 13, 14, 15, and 16, all with the White Sox. And each of those, he was 6th in the Cy Young Award vote in 2012. And the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, he finished in the top 5 in the Cy Young. And was dominated, led the league in strikeouts with the White Sox in 2015, pitched 200 some odd innings a year through 6 complete games in 2016, and then cut up a White Sox uniform with some scissors, was traded to the Red Sox in a big trade, and had the best season I think the best season of his career. Yeah, I know he had higher WAR some other seasons. Yeah, I know he did this, that, or the other thing in other seasons. He pitched 214 and a third innings. He had an FIP of 2.45. He struck out 12 batters per 9 innings as he notched 308 strikeouts and finished second in the Cy Young Award. Damn you, Corey Kluber. And the next year, despite some injuries and a couple of hiccups, was the number 1 starter for the Red Sox, who won the World Series. Yes, with some off-the-field shenanigans. We all know that. But also came up big out of the bullpen. Alex Cora used him out of the pen. And he got key outs in the playoffs out of the bullpen against the New York Yankees. And with the World Series within their reach to be clinched, in Game 5, he called out Chris Sale. Up until that point, he was a consistent Cy Young candidate And for, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, for a 7-year stretch, was in the conversation of the Cy Young every single season. But then that's a kind of stretch, as I said. There are a lot of terrific pitchers who had that kind of peak. Growing up, I remember Brett Saberhagen certainly had that peak. Fernando Valenzuela, Dave Stewart, Ron Guidry, Frankie Viola. These are pitchers who had those big, terrific streaks, but not quite enough to be a Hall of Famer. John Lester in some recent years were that. The big three in Oakland of Zito, Mulder, and Hudson had those streaks where they were the best pitchers of baseball for a period of time. And we saw Jake Peavy, Brandon Webb. These are examples of pitchers who had phenomenal peaks, Cy Young Award-winning peaks, but didn't do it long enough to jump to that next level. And then the injuries came about. In 2019, all those years I mentioned with the Red Sox, where he was not contributing, and continued to do the victory laps because the Red Sox are not winning that World Series in 2018, if not for the Apple Watches and for Chris Sale. But I believe when he went to Atlanta in the Vaughn Grissom trade, he didn't hit nearly the innings limits that he did in the past. He was not a 200 innings pitcher. They don't allow pitchers to pitch like that anymore. But he won himself a pitching triple crown, leading the league in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. The highest ERA plus, the highest FIP, the highest strikeout per 9 innings. Led the league in WAR for pitchers, and finally got himself that Cy Young Award. And along with that, now I don't look at wins. I don't look at some of the other things that the old metrics, but the fact of the matter is he is now has 2,500 strikeouts. 2,500 strikeouts, which is putting him in, there's some great pitchers who are still pitching, like Verlander and Kershaw, but it is 39th all time. 39th all time, as he is past the likes of Christy Mathewson, Don Drysdale, and Jack Morris, and he is going to be soon leapfrogging some people like Felix Hernandez, Bartolo Colon, and eventually Jerry Koosman. AJ Burnett is up there. Pitchers strike out more batters than they used to. But I'll say this. I believe this recent renaissance of Chris Sale and adding the Cy Young Award to his resume 14 years after his debut and as his great comeback. How did he not win? He should have won a Cy Young earlier, but still. I think that I don't think he's going to get to 3,000 strikeouts. Another 500 strikeouts in his career is a lot. But he may get another 100 strikeouts. He may get it up to 2,700 strikeouts. And you look at his body of work from 2012 till now, and you'd have to put him in the conversation for the best pitcher of this era, the best starting pitcher of this era. And you know what? When I thought the Red Sox should have traded him after that World Series, and when I saw how things were going, when he couldn't pitch and he was getting hurt, I thought for sure his career was done. And boy, oh boy, do I have egg on my proverbial face now. So I'll hold off on my judgment till the very end, but I think you may be getting a glimpse of what I'm thinking. Chris Sale has proven me wrong, and do you know what? I'm leaning there. Let's hear from our good friends over at Gametime. You ever decide at the last minute to head over to the ballpark with some friends and family? I did that last summer when I was at home and my cousin came into town. I was not expecting to see him. And I was like, what are we going to do? So I'll tell you what, we're going to go to the Giants game. I was up north. And we went to the Giants game. It was fantastic. And it was spur of the moment. And you know what? That's where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab tickets at the last minute without stress. And with the money you save on tickets, do you know what my cousin and I did? We got something good to eat. He paid because I paid for the tickets. But do you know what? Gametime makes it all possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. And they have incredible last-minute details, clear seat views, and the lowest price guaranteed that takes the worry out of buying. And it's the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB. It makes it easy to browse the app for an exciting upcoming game. Now, we're going to see some terrific games coming on, and we're going to see who the Giants are playing, or if you're out in Sacramento, go check out the A's there. And they have last-minute tickets, zone deals for big savings, seat views right in the app before you buy, so you know exactly where your seat's going to be. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB at $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets, the lowest prices, they are guaranteed. Now, Craig Kimbrel's career, he got off to as good a start as you can get as a relief pitcher. Now, I am not a big believer in looking at the saves because, you know, if you're winning 6-3 and you face the bottom of the team's lineup and you let up 2 runs in an inning, but that's it, you will get a save for that with an 18 ERA. But when you take a look at some of the stats around Craig Kimbrel, who, again, like Chris Sale, shot right up to the major leagues, and at age 22 was in the big leagues, and he struck out 40 batters in 20 2/3 innings out of the bullpen with an ERA under 0.5. He was the Rookie of the Year in 2011, a year where the Braves collapsed down the stretch, but it wasn't Craig Kimbrel's fault. Now, he did lead the league in saves. What was more interesting to me is he struck out 127 batters in 77 innings. That's nearly 15 strikeouts per 9. And the next year, he actually was better. He wound up having a higher strikeout per 9 inning, 116 strikeouts in 62 1/3 innings. And his ERA plummeted to 1.01. I don't care what you say about a relief pitcher's ERA. Holy cats. And by age 25, he was the best reliever in the National League. At that point, it almost wasn't even close. He would strike out a rate in the teens per 9 innings. His ERA was always in the ones. And even though I don't really care that much about the save stat, he would lead the league in it. So in case you did care, there you go. He would barely walk any batters. He would barely let up any hits. He let up 10 runs. He let up 9 earned runs total in 2013. He let up 7 earned runs total in 2012. And continued to be not only the best reliever in the National League, but a regular Cy Young contender. But after 2014, the Braves decided to blow the team up. And he was sent packing to the San Diego Padres in a deal that also sent B.J. Upton. Now, the Padres got a pile of players back from the Padres, including Carlos Quentin and Cameron Maybin. And that going for it move by the Padres blew up in the Padres' face as they didn't contend in 2015. Don't blame Craig Kimbrel. Craig Kimbrel, wound up striking out 87 batters in 59 1/3 innings. He did have a much higher ERA and probably didn't win over a lot of fans in San Diego. But off he went in a trade that also involved to Boston, who gave away a bunch of players, including Manuel Margot, to San Diego. Now, here's where the Hall of Fame candidacy of Craig Kimbrel starts to get a little murkier. His first year in Boston was only okay. It was by far the worst season of his career up until that point. His ERA ballooned. He still struck out a lot of batters, but he was not the unstoppable reliever that he was in the past. Now, the Red Sox happened to win the division that year. So that smoothed over a lot of the questions. The next year, he wound up being much better. Struck out 126 batters in 69 innings. The Red Sox won, and his ERA came back to normal. Again, Cy Young contender and all-star, and the Red Sox won another division. And then came 2018, the year where things really gets complicated. He wound up having all the peripherals you want, lots of strikeouts per 9 innings, saved a lot of game, and decent ERA. But anyone who saw him pitch especially in that postseason, their heart was in their throat the whole time. The guy was not effective. He nearly blew the division series to the Yankees. Do you know what his ERA was in the division series against the Yankees in 2018? 11.57. He allowed 3 earned runs in 2 1/3 innings. He wound up getting the save that clinched it, but no, it was not effective. Same thing in the league championship series. He was the pitcher on the mound when they clinched, but he led up 2 runs in 4 innings, and it took an Andrew Benintendi brilliant catch to save his butt. Suddenly he was walking batters. He walked 4 batters in 4 innings in the ALCS against Houston. And yeah, he struck out 4 batters as well, but that's not a good strikeout to walk ratio, 1-to-1. And by the time he got to the World Series against Los Angeles, he still was a wild mess, to the point that when the Red Sox had a chance to clinch, who did they turn to? Chris Sale. Sale got the final out, and that was his final game as a Red Sox. Now, he bounced around a little bit, went to the Cubs, and then he wound up having a terrific half season with the Cubs in 2021. And off he was traded to crosstown White Sox, where he absolutely ate it. And he was not very effective with the, he made an all-star team with the Phillies, but come postseason time, he was dreadful, losing 2 games in the league championship series against Arizona. Philadelphia was all but clinching that league championship series when they were up 2-0 and it looked like men versus boys. And Craig Kimbrel coughed it up twice. If you're a reliever trying to make it to the Hall of Fame, you need to have that sense of dominance. Think about the ones who have made it in, like Hoyt Wilhelm, Dennis Eckersley, obviously Rivera, obviously Bruce Sutter, Raleigh Fingers, Lee Smith. Who are some of the other ones I'm not thinking of? Billy Wagner last year. They went on great runs where they dominated and came up big in the postseason. Well, actually, Lee Smith didn't. And I think that affected his Hall of Fame candidacy for a long time. That the 2 times he went to the playoffs, once with the Cubs and once with Boston, he came up big. He came up small, I meant to say, both times. Trevor Hoffman also coughed it up. He had some bad postseason games with the 96 and 98 Padres, and of course, the game 163 against the Colorado Rockies. And Billy Wagner never got his chance in the World Series, mainly because there was a called third strike on Carlos Beltran. But those pitchers who made it to the Hall of Fame as closers, Gossage, Fingers, Suter, Eckersley, Rivera, who had those great runs where they were tremendous relief pitchers, and you hand the ball to them in the postseason, and it was a no doubt about it. That's not who Kimbrel was. Now, to be fair, in 2013, he rotted in the bullpen for the Braves when who the hell was the manager then? Was it I forget who was Bobby Cox's successor? I think it was Freddie Gonzalez, who did not allow him to come in at a key moment, and Juan Uribe hit a home run that gave the Dodgers the lead and they clinched. That was Kimbrel at his peak. But by the time he got to the postseason in 2018, he was no longer in his peak. His peak was really 5 terrific years, 5 fabulous years, and then a bunch of years where he compiled saves. Now, maybe our image of him would have been different if the Braves had won the World Series in one of those years. Maybe it would have been different if he dominated in 2018 and he was the one with his arms raised in Chavez Ravine. But I really think the fact that he had a fantastic peak, but then became a serviceable reliever, but not someone that you would necessarily say is dominant. By the way, all you need to know about what saves can mean. In 2024, Craig Kimbrel had 23 saves. There you go. That's a good number. 23 saves. His ERA was 5.33. So he was piling up saves, even though he's letting up more than a run every other inning, which is death if you're a closer. And by the way, his WAR, I'm not a huge fan of WAR because I don't know how the hell it's calculated, but his WAR was negative 1.1. When your closer is taking away a game above a replacement player, I'm sorry. I think Chris Sale clinched a Hall of Fame spot. I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I think he will. I think he needs to pile up his strikeouts and maybe have one more very good year, but I think he may have had enough. Clinching that Cy Young Award may have been enough. Craig Kimbrel, I like him. I like his beard. I like this. But I don't look at him as that dominating closer for long enough. He certainly was for that 4 or 5 year stretch, but it's just not enough. So I would say right now, Sale is a Hall of Famer. Kimbrel, not so much. If you agree with me, let me know. If you disagree with me, let me know. And put it right down there in the comments. And thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Talking about Chris Sale and Craig Kimbrel, teammates and a championship team, now teammates in Atlanta. Will they be teammates in Cooperstown? This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.